If you were to make it past the first week of 75 hard and were curious about what the second week was like, here's what I've learned. Stamina is now building. One of my workouts is always a cardio-based workout, so I'll either run or I'll go on the bike. And now that my stamina is starting to build, I'm finding that 45 minutes of cardio is very doable. It's definitely still something I have to push for, but nothing compared to what the first week was like. So that's wild that it changes that quickly. I'm also really listening to my body and reacting quite quickly to anything that feels like it could progress into an injury. And I'm finding this is working pretty well. Despite the fact that I'm putting quite a lot of load on my body, it's not breaking. In fact, it seems to be strengthening in a way that can sustain the increased load. The variety that I'm introducing into the paths that I take are allowing me to discover newer parts of my city, and I encounter a lot of serendipitous moments where I find things that I didn't know were there. And often I'm out in the city at times where other people aren't. It allows me to experience these places almost all to myself, which is rare for a city that is as popular as this. There's certain spots that usually you just cannot experience fully because it's just full of people. Being out after the sun sets or in bad weather really gives you a different experience. And I highly recommend it because if you can get over the discomfort of being wet and cold and miserable, then yeah, a lot of really unique moments open up for you. Anxiety. This is an interesting one because I had a baseline level of anxiety before this that, if anything happened in my life that was difficult, I would just drop straight to that level. But I find that since starting this challenge, my threshold is a lot higher than it used to be. And so if something hard happens, I don't go as low. And I think there is actually a direct correlation to what I'm doing with the challenge, because when things get hard, I'm learning how to navigate that difficult moment. And because I'm experiencing quite a lot of these, it's building a skill set really in me when it comes to difficult situations or stressful situations. I guess I never really thought about it before, but when I was living in a fairly undisciplined way, I wasn't really giving myself the opportunity to grow in my skill set of dealing with anxiety. And so it makes sense that I would get pretty low or that anxiety would hit me that hard. Now, I know this isn't the solution for everyone. Anxiety can be a really complex topic from all sorts of different circumstances. I'm curious if a lot of us can learn how to deal with our anxiety by putting ourselves in hard situations and learning how to overcome them. I know for me, this is making a difference. Another way of putting it is when I'm working out and in the elements and it's hard, I'm developing a response to hard that translates to other parts of my life. Creativity. Man, so filming every day really has made my creativity skyrocket. I don't really like to do the same thing over and over again. I get bored, to be honest, of seeing the same shots or filming it in the same way or telling the same story. And so having to come up with a new idea every single day or creatively frame up the same thing in a different way has really pushed me to think about things differently and to consider them differently. And frankly, to take more risks. I find that filming out in public is incredibly nerve-wracking for me. I'm somewhat cognizant of what people are thinking and something I'm definitely trying to overcome, but it means that a lot of times I could have gotten a shot, but I choose not to because I'm afraid of how it's going to impact the people around me. And now because of the constraints of how much time I have to get these videos out, I'm finding that I just end up getting the shot or putting myself in that situation where someone may think, oh, that guy's doing something weird, but realizing that it doesn't ultimately matter. Who I am in their mind is just going to be a blip that they likely will forget very shortly. I'm trying to be respectful of people and being out in the same shared space as people. I don't want to be disruptive to their enjoyment of the space, but at the same time, there are a lot of shots that you really can only get by putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation. The downside to all of this, though, is that I'm often up till 2 or 3 in the morning editing this video and trying to get it across. So I do suffer from a bit of scope creep where I realize, oh man, the story can just be a little bit more cooler if I put a little bit more effort. But at the same time, I've got to make sure that I'm taking care of my health by having a good sleep routine. Speaking of routine, so far I've described the pros. There are cons, and for me it's time management. I find that a lot of this challenge requires just a lot of time, and there's only so much time in the day, and when you're working and you have all these other priorities, being in a relationship, it can be hard to try and get everything in. And I find that I'm just not that good at time management. It's a skill set that I have yet to really sharpen. So I think in the next coming week, I'm going to focus on that. And hopefully by the end of week 3, I would have figured out some strategies as to how to make sure I'm getting everything in, getting to bed on time, and feeling good about how everything fits together. So yeah, being in the double digits feels good. It's definitely motivating. It's helpful to be past that first week. I think seeing the numbers slowly increase day after day definitely is encouraging and helpful to keep going. I'm not really paying attention to the physical changes in my body. I'm aware that they're happening because, I'll catch a glimpse in the mirror, and I don't have a lot of body fat to begin with, so any sort of physical change is quite quickly reflected in my frame. I have worked out in the past and I have built up a little bit of muscle, but I struggle with eating, so anytime I stop working out, my body drops back down to a pretty skinny state. And when I start working out again, I'm able to revert to the same level of musculature that I had when I was working out prior. So it's sort of a strange dynamic, but yeah, right now it just looks like rapid gains. I think that I'm more focused on the mental fortitude part of this challenge than I am the physical. I do want to make sure that I'm building a consistency when it comes to working out and maintaining my physical fitness. So I'm thankful that this challenge is helping me get there. But yeah, I'm not paying a ton of attention to how it's changing my body, even though it is. Anyways, that's a wrap on week 2. I'm super curious what week 3 is going to look like. But yeah, I'm going to be focusing on time management to really figure out if I can optimize and dial in my schedule so that I can really see this through all the way to the end and not have to struggle through it. If you're thinking of starting 75 Hard on your own, I highly recommend it. Obviously, make sure that you're really thinking through the components and customize it so that it's something that can actually work for you. If you try it and you fail and you need to start again, don't beat yourself up about it. The fact that you've even started has already put you way ahead of so many people that are currently just sitting on the couch, binge watching Netflix or doom scrolling on social media and sort of atrophying in their potential of who they could be. So get back up, try again. It's going to be worth it.